Hey everybody, this is DeJunkie64 and welcome to my review for Face the Music, the first part of sorts of the season finale. A lot of people are saying, it's been sort of networked as one whole finale, but I'm sort of counting them as two separate episodes because they definitely work as two separate episodes. This was an amazing episode though. I don't care what anyone says, I loved it, I loved every minute of it. So much of the stuff was awesome. There was some stuff in this episode that I thought was actually going to be in Starcrushed, but I was totally wrong, and I'm glad I was, to be perfectly honest, because the stuff that I thought was going to be in Starcrushed would have kind of sucked if it was. One thing in particular, and I'll get to that later in the review, but overall this was an amazing episode, an amazing song, really amazing revelations, stuff going on with Moon and with Star and Marco, and I'll get to that when we actually get to that. This will be probably a longer review than normal, just because it's the season finale and the same as Starcrushed, but I won't be getting up the Starcrushed review until tomorrow, just because I want to spread these apart. I haven't even seen Starcrushed yet at the time of recording this, so if I'm not mentioning anything about that, that's why. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get straight into this, because this was... holy hell, this was good. So this episode starts off with some kind of weird, shitty song by some kind of minstrel. It is the song for Moon, and it's another pretty pansy princess song. And then we cut to Star and Moon just chatting about how princess songs are shit, and, how basically it's a tradition for princesses to have their own song. But Star doesn't want a song like them, so she decides that she's gonna just completely avoid it until it's over, which totally isn't going to go too well. So then at this point we have Moon basically undressing in a way, and basically making her hair in a way that kind of matches what we saw in Starcrushed. So obviously this is going to link a lot more into Starcrushed than I originally thought, just because Moon, we do have this side plot with Moon going to try and get the book back from Ludo, which isn't exactly going to work, and again I'll get into that when we get further into the episode, because this is a longer episode and I'm probably going to take a lot longer to explain things, so yeah. But she basically leaves to go and get the book, and I do have to say Moon looks badass in the cape, I'm not even going to lie, she looks really cool. And basically after this, the minstrel, or at least the new minstrel, comes to Star's house to write the song for her, which she doesn't seem too happy about, obviously. So she does invite him in the home and makes some tea while the minstrel starts singing to Marco. But then Star actually leaves out the back window and doesn't come back, and we'll get to that when we actually get to that. But this is actually a pretty funny moment, like Star just leaves the minstrel singing to Marco, and honestly I feel bad for Marco with what happens. It's kind of sucky on his part. Although I gotta admit, I like the minstrel, I like the guy who actually voices him, and the song at the end is really awesome. I'll get to that again when we actually get to that. So Star flies off, and then we cut back to Moon, so you can see that we're just cutting back and forth between this. Still gotta say Moon looks freaking awesome. I don't know how much I can stress that. So she travels through some bones through a dark forest, and then she stumbles across what I was actually super shocked to see in this episode, and that's Ludo's parents of all things. This was a huge shock. I wasn't really expecting this at all. Ludo's parents, really something we've heard about, like we knew they existed, we've seen them, I think it was the hair episode from last season. We have hints that they existed, but we've never really seen them, and I didn't think we were ever going to get to see them until today. So yeah, we actually got to see their parents, or Ludo's parents, and kind of interesting, to be honest. They have a lot of children, and I wonder if any of those are going to become important later on, but one of them certainly does, so we'll get to that later on as well, obviously. But she basically talks to them about Ludo, and obviously they've given up on Ludo. Ludo is sort of the runt of the family. They tried to help him. Think of him as sort of a Tyrion Lannister of the Ludo family. I don't know how else to describe it. But they've basically given up on him, and then Moon just leaves, knowing that there's nothing she can really do. Although I do gotta admit, Ludo's father does have the beard that Ludo has now, so it definitely seems like Ludo was intentionally styling his beard that way to match his father. At least that's what it seems like to me, so that's really cool, honestly, if that is the case. But we'll see, I don't know. I think that is the case, though. So Moon leaves, and then we cut back to Star and Marco, and Star returns from her what seems to be a pretty long trip, aka 8 hours, as we find out that the minstrel's been singing to Marco non-stop for 8 hours, which is crazy. Poor Marco, seriously. So, she doesn't want to get him to write the song because it's just pansy and nobody wants to do that, but Marco kinda forces her into it because he does not want to sit through 8 more hours of that. Though then they hug with the minstrel watching them in probably one of the most awkward stares ever. It's amazing. And then of course we cut back to Moon, obviously, who is then confronted with one of Ludo's brothers named Dennis, and he basically wants to help Ludo. He does care about Ludo, clearly, but he wants to help him because he's sick, because he has problems, obviously, and we know this quite clearly. So basically he agrees to take Moon to where Ludo is, and I do have to wonder, how does he know where Ludo is? It kind of gives me the impression that they've actually had contact, like Ludo and this Dennis have actually had contact during this time. So that's really interesting, and you know, he just wants to help his brother, so that's really cool. So basically Dennis takes Moon to his castle, which I honestly thought Moon was going to say that this was a monster castle, right, during the war, which I still think it is, clearly, but yeah. So basically she sees Ludo, normal Ludo by the way, not toffee-infected Ludo as far as I can see, so it doesn't look like that was permanent, so how he's going to turn back into Toffee, I'm not 100% sure, but we'll have to see how that turns out. But he's messing around with this sort of stuff, and then Moon notices the wand, and instantly she's just like, we have to go back, we have to get the hell out of here, and obviously this is her trying to get prepared. She knows what this is, and I feel like she does. I feel like she knows that this is Toffee, somehow, and I feel like she knows what the hell is going on just with the wand itself. Maybe she recognizes the arm, I don't know. But she instantly gets out of there because I think she realizes I need to get my shit ready, I need to get the Magical High Commission and all that. And they need to know about this, which I guess is the idea, I'm not 100% sure. So they fly off, and basically Ludo just looks at them and kind of notices. I don't know if he actually saw them, but that'll be interesting, but yeah. So we cut back to Star and the minstrel, and Star's just like, I don't want to do this, like I really don't want to do this, so she tells him to get the hell out. And he does, he leaves, and kind of tells her that he is just some kind of a hack, and which he kind of is, but at the same time he doesn't want to be, so he basically leaves. So then we cut back to Moon and Dennis, who basically asks Moon if she can actually help Ludo, and she says she'll do what she can, and obviously that just means get the High Commission and beat the hell out of him until he just gives up the book. Yeah, that's kind of their plan at this point, at least that's what I can guess. I'm not 100% sure. It sure as hell won't be what they have to do in the end, though. So then we cut back to the minstrel who's trying to write Star's song and obviously can't get it right, which is totally true to being a musician. You're gonna fail a bunch of times and it's gonna fuck you over. That's as hard as it goes. And then Star comes through realizing that he doesn't want to do the same kind of music that they've been doing all these years, and he does want to do something different, so she agrees that with her wand and with her magic, they can do something different, and oh boy do they do something so much more different. But overall, I mean, I do want to say about the minstrel, I do really like him, and when he actually starts singing later on, I adore him. He is great. The song itself is great, and I'll get into more detail about it as we go on. So basically, Moon returns to the castle and opens a giant door, and we actually get this shot right here that we saw in the promo. I heard a few people saying that this was Moon dipping down, which isn't the case. Totally not, it was just her actually probably dipping down to just open the door. Maybe she'll do it again to defeat Toffee. I don't know what's going to happen next episode, but really, this is the shot that we saw in the promo that I honestly thought was from Starcrushed, but obviously not. So it basically opens the door to this giant suit of armor, which she puts on, and she inherently looks so badass in this. I can't wait to see her fight. It is going to be so cool. Really is. But of course we don't get that, and instead we have to go to Star's Song Day. So we do go to Star's Song Day, and we see the entirety of the Magic High Commission is there, which is really cool. Queen Moon comes in, just looking normal as usual very quickly. And then we see Star and Marco coming sitting down, and Marco looks amazing, by the way. Just gonna put this right out here. Marco and Star totally a thing now, and I'll get to that again later on. I say that way too much in this episode, but it's true. This episode's really long, so there's a lot to talk about. But Star basically explains that the song's gonna be a little different, and she shouldn't worry. She is gonna totally worry, though. Don't worry about that. But yeah, the song is going to be very different. So the song actually begins, and basically what I'm going to be doing is splitting the song into 4 different sections and explaining them. But starting off, we have the first section of the song, which is really just the little puppet show sort of verse, so to speak. This was probably the most quaint of all of them, just because it was kind of like Moon's, it was kind of happy-go-lucky, and you know, pansy and all that sort of stuff, and it was kind of boring, nothing too special. But once it really got into it, it started to really get into it. So basically going into the second verse, he destroys his little guitar thing. I don't know the actual name of that particular instrument, apologies. And then he ends up looking so cool. And we get into the second verse, the rock verse, so to speak. This is my favourite part of the song, just because it's so catchy. It's like the, she's a rebel princess, she's the best. She's a ball of lightning in a hot pink dress and that sort of thing. And this was a really cool verse, really catchy. It's actually the one from the promo, so to speak. So yeah, I love this one. I thought it was really cool. It was awesome. Gotta love it. Again, the song was so catchy and the guy singing it was amazing. I don't know how much I can really stress that because it was amazing. And I adored it. And it was awesome. And oh my god, I keep saying it, but it's so good. But yeah, the second verse, I'm just repeating it over and over in my head and it's amazing. It's like, Just Friends from the last episode, really catchy song, got stuck in my head for a while after, so yeah. And obviously everything's going well up to this point. We get a really freaked out face by Lekmet, which is really cool. And yeah, just everyone's really happy with this part of the song. But then it gets into the third part, and this is what I'm going to call the Ludo section of the song, because it sort of goes over everything that's happened, all the Glossaric stuff, all the Ludo stuff, and you know, all the stuff with Queen and King Butterfly covering everything up from the Mumins, which everyone's really not going to be happy about by the end of this, obviously, so yeah. And actually, again, this shot right here of cardboard Glossaric, this wasn't from Starcrushed. I don't know why it would be in the first place, to be honest. But yeah, it is from this episode, so again, something else to think about. On the subject of actually shots from the promo that I didn't think were going to be in this episode, I do want to go back to an earlier part of the episode where she does say to the minstrel that either I leave forever or you leave. And basically, you know, that's what I thought she was saying to Marco, and maybe she was leaving for Muni. No, that's not the case at all. And honestly, I didn't think she was leaving for Muni, but I wasn't sure if she was talking to Marco. But that's some very good editing tricks right there, Disney. Well done. Just thought I'd point that out, because I didn't talk about that earlier, so I apologise for that. Yeah, this third part of the song, just going over stuff, everyone's shocked, everyone's scared because, well, they lied to them. The king and queen lied to them about all this, so yeah, kind of sucks on that part, but then we get into the fourth part, even after, you know, Moon was pretty damn unhappy with Star for this section of the song. Then we get into, every Starco shipper's dream of a song verse, to be perfectly honest. Which is the Star and Marco one, which Star wasn't even expecting to happen at all. And we have, so to speak, one of the best things ever, a Marco marionette doll holding a Star marionette doll, and basically the entire verse was just about Marco and Star being in love and being king and queen of Muni, and it's great, and it's totally going to happen, and again, it continues to do the whole Starco thing. Again, no idea how the minstrel even knew that this was, you know, the case, that she actually had a crush on Marco. Maybe she told him, but I don't know why that would be the case, so yeah. Maybe because it is pretty obvious, but hey. But yeah, you get this really nice verse about Star and Marco totally being a thing. You're just teasing us at this point, Disney. Seriously, just let us have our wish. Just let the Starco shippers have what they want. But basically, the crowd then turns around and starts throwing food and stuff at the king and queen, and you know, they hate them now, they lied to them, so it's perfectly understandable. So they head into the castle, and the Magical High Commission just start yelling at Moon and start getting into a fight because, again, they lied to them as well, which they really shouldn't have and didn't tell them. Obviously, Romulus knows, and just gonna say Romulus, yeah, he's a pretty cool guy. I'd like to see more of him. So while they're arguing, Marco comes up to Star, and obviously things are pretty awkward, and the episode ends with Star leaving that conversation before Marco can say anything and hopping on her cloud and riding away, and that's how the episode ends. So obviously, judging by a little image that I've seen of Starcrushed, at the beginning of the episode at least, she is crying in front of all her friends, so this is probably what's going to cause that. But there you go, that is Face the Music, and for as long as this video has been, I apologise, it's been a hell of an episode. I loved it. I loved the song. I loved all the Ludo stuff that happened with the moon and stuff, so I'm interested to see how that's going to develop next episode, because it will, trust me. And the Starco stuff as well. I knew we'd get Starco stuff, just saying, but yeah. Love this episode. Hope you guys did too, and I'm really looking forward to Starcrushed. I expect that will be a longer video than this. I hope not. This has been a pretty ass long video, but yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.